you're not watching playoff basketball using Sling TV, you're doing it all wrong. Because with Sling TV, you get every playoff game for the best price, hands down. Sling is the MVP for all your favorite live sports, news, and entertainment, and you'll never get locked into a long-term contract. I love that. While the other guys charge you more for less, with Sling, you can watch all the sports you love, including every playoff basketball game for the best price. Customize your channel lineup with all-star channels like TNT, TBS, truTV, ESPN, USA Network, and more. Plus, you can stream the games anywhere, so you never miss another play. Watch on your favorite devices, including your phone, computer, tablet, and smart TV. You can also watch anytime you want, with 50 hours of DVR storage included. Sling is easy to set up and easy to use. Check out sling.com for special offers. Be confident you're getting all the playoff basketball you love for the price you'll love. Try us today.
Lights out, and away we ayo. Welcome to No Breaks, a Formula One podcast from the No Dunks Inc. Classic Factory, proudly part of the Athletic Podcast Network. I'm your host, Trey Kirby. We've got our local F1 expert and the second person to wear Grateful Dead gear here in the Classic Factory, Graydon Gordian.
Right.
This man is a fan of improvised music. From the Dead to Kamasi, Washington. We're talking 3-hour concerts.
It's just jamming. No concert is too long.
Yeah.
The longer the jam, the better.
The longer the concert, only 3 songs. You go to a Dead show and a Kamasi, Washington show.
My first concert ever was a Parliament Funkadelic concert, and they did. It was kind of like just 5 straight hours of music in which every once in a while you'd vaguely recognize like Flashlight or
nice.
like, oh, this is Maggot Brain or something like that, right? Kind of like faded. Yeah, so
that's the good stuff.
I've been doing it for years.
Yeah, this guy, I think it's hilarious. Your favorite concert was Parliament Funkadelic. I even knew
my first, not favorite.
Oh yeah,
first. I don't know what my favorite is.
Yeah, I guess we'll follow up in the C block here. We've also got our team principal JD making the magic happen here in the paddock. What's up, JD?
Hi guys. My first concert, The Cure.
Yeah, it's a great first concert.
That's great. Yeah, not as cool as P-Funk though, but
well, much cooler than mine. My first concert ever was Jars of Clay and Michael W. Smith.
Wow, Jars of Clay.
Christian music. Yeah, guess what? My dad was a minister.
That is killer. That is, I mean, that is awesome.
Where were you when Jars of Clay opened for Michael W. Smith?
Wow.
Maybe you were in the Slipstream team. If you are right now joining us on YouTube, thank you so much. If you're watching later, also cool. And if you're listening to the podcast, we love that. Thank you very much. We're here, though, to break down everything that happened at Imola over the weekend, from a wild qualification period to the first sprint race of the season to a dramatic, if not necessarily the most exciting Grand Prix on Sunday. But Graydon, I was back home in Chicago over the weekend watching my team, who is back, completely fall apart. I may have forgotten that qualifying was technically on Friday this time around.
Sure. It creeps
Once you throw in the sprint race, man, I'm like, is qualifying really qualifying?
It's interesting. I feel like this, every time we have a sprint race, this comes up. But I was talking with Eric Freeman, NBA blog OG, the other day about qualifying specifically and like sports creep, how like every sport is just trying to get you to watch more and more and more of it always. And then this is really the thing this mostly is, it's just like now my Fridays, I've got to remember on Friday that I also have an F1 thing to do, because it also caught me by surprise. I saw people tweeting about it and I was like, oh, I totally blanked on this.
Totally.
I
hate to downgrade qualifying to like practice status for me, but like on a sprint weekend, it's a little bit in practice status for me, where I'm like, I would like to see it, but we'll see if it fits in. I had to go to the outlet mall though.
I think it was Chain Bear on Twitter who threw out the idea that they restructure where that you can have sprint races, but have them be like their own event. It's like maybe whatever it is at the end of Q1 or something is the starting grid for the sprint race, and then qualifying is still qualifying for the actual race or something like that. I think I like that idea. I think I like the idea of like segmenting it versus sprint races just being like basically like we just automatically red flag the race 30 minutes into it or something like that, which is basically what it is today, right? So
it seems to me that they're gonna kind of keep tinkering with this stuff as time goes on, because like this seems a little bit more exciting, this year's sprint race perhaps, but it is weird to have a qualifying that's not a qualifying. Then you're getting points for the sprint race. They want you to call it a race, not a qualifying.
It is a lot of points this year.
Yeah, it is a lot of points this year.
Yeah.
As for qualifying on Friday, the things I noticed: wet. Max Verstappen, P1, and 5 red flags. What was going on out there?
Oh my gosh. I mean, it just was the rain. I'm not going to say it was too rainy for them to run, but it certainly was the guys being on the edge. You know, they were all over the place. It was a mess, and it caused qualifying to be quite lengthy. I think, and honestly, it really did affect how people came out of it. Max obviously drove a great qualifying and over the course of the weekend proved to have a terrific car, but actually, coming into qualifying, the money would have overwhelmingly been on Ferrari, given the way they had performed in the wet during practice. They looked to be so dominant on inters and wet tires. And it's kind of one of these things where you'll never know if that was the case because the conditions were changing so drastically and red flags were causing so many people to have to abort their laps and things like that. Just getting in a lap at the optimal time, there was a lot of luck involved in which is kind of always true. Track conditions are always evolving. It's something you always have to be cognizant of. But it definitely was... but it played into Red Bull's hands, set them up in a great position for that Saturday to, at the time, hopefully control the sprint race. So.
Yeah, which does bring us to Saturday. First sprint race of the season, 21 laps, I think, to set the grid for Sunday's Grand Prix. And you mentioned it, a change this season. Points now available to the top 8 in the sprint race. I think it was just the top 3.
I think that's right.
In the 2021 season. It's just one sprint race, but are sprint races better this year?
So they're definitely better in the sense that you can follow more closely and overtaking is more easily done. And therefore, I think just the nature of the cars and the regs this year lends itself to more exciting racing, and certainly having a period where people aren't as concerned with tire management and are just going hard and there isn't considerations of pit strategy and stuff like that is fun. My one critique or my one issue is are sprint races just an opportunity for the anomalies that happen in qualifying to correct themselves? Because if you look at the starting grid at the beginning of the sprint race, people are all over the place. It's a hot mess. And I personally love that. Like, I think it makes for a super exciting race when you see people starting way out of position and like everybody has to figure it out or fight their way back. But then when you look at the starting grid at the beginning on Sunday after the sprint race, it's people just overtaking cars, overtaking people they were largely much faster than. Carlos worked his way back up to the front, to the top 4, etc. And so that's probably my biggest criticism. I actually thought it was good and exciting and fun racing, but it's like, is it actually just kind of like reestablishing the order of things? The answer is yes, a little bit.
Yeah, you definitely make a good point, because like Sainz was one of the big gainers in this one. Went from P10 after qualifying to P4 after the sprint race, and the front row ended up being all Red Bull and Ferrari, which would probably have what most people are predicting in the first place. So yeah, but it paid off for me just watching Leclerc and Verstappen go back and forth. I think it kind of started racing. Lap 17, definitely ended lap 21 with Verstappen overtaking Leclerc for P1 on lap 20 after making a couple of attempts on maybe the lap 18 and 19. But he noticed, he's like, hey, those tires are going to go. I'll bide my time. A little bit of patience from Max Verstappen, something he's shown quite a bit, I feel like, in this season. I was surprised to see. They mentioned on the broadcast, a little convoluted the way they mentioned it, the first overtake for P1 after being overtaken for P1 or something like that, because Leclerc had
I think basically, I think in all the previous sprint races, the person who led at the end of lap 1 actually won the sprint race. So this is and Leclerc did win at the end of lap 1 after a fantastic start to the sprint race. He really ripped it off the line, and Max kind of blew it. I guess they claimed there was a gear shift issue, and perhaps that was the case, but it also just looked like maybe Charles caught him sleeping a little bit. And so it's, and to be honest, at the time, especially once Leclerc probably worked up a second and a half, at one point it might have been up to 1.7 seconds or something like that lead, I kind of thought we were just cruising for that till the end. I actually didn't think that the very top of it was going to be that interesting. So that was awesome as a fan to see that kind of not be the case, to see, Max biding his time a little bit, being patient, having a working theory of kind of how the tires were going to evolve and degradation was going to evolve. Clearly, Red Bull, and this plays out on Sunday as well, just the setup of the car enabled much better tire management, much better. So that was, they pounced and it worked. So
yeah, I thought that was awesome. The way that it turned into a battle at the end, because I feel like a lot of the sprint races we watched last season, like you're saying, if you get to the last 5 laps, there's a 1.7 second gap. You're like, well, we're probably not going to be able to get close enough to stay close enough to then continue to challenge and eventually pull off an overtake, which Verstappen did. So maybe being able to follow closely and be able to follow closely for a long time is going to give us some more interesting sprint racing here. My one thing they should change is that you should get a point for fastest lap in the sprint race.
Ooh, okay.
It's a sprint. You're telling me you're not going to reward the person who was the absolute fastest?
It would be interesting because, almost entirely now, fastest lap is, not entirely, but quite often in the race itself, right? The person who gets fastest lap is somebody who's able to pit for softs towards the end and can play that game. But you really aren't going to do that here, right? You aren't going to do that here. And it actually kind of changes the calculus, because let's say there is a point for fastest lap. Does Ferrari start on mediums instead and be like, okay, once the fuel has gone down and we're quicker because of fuel weight, and our tires are going to be faster in lap 21 than they're going to be there, or does it definitely would change, I think, people's strategy. And I think probably changes how, well, at least aggressively the people out front are driving. So I don't know. I'm down. I mean, I say try it.
I like to throw in a suggestion once every 5 shows.
I feel like in general, I'm a fan of, it's very easy, I feel like, as a sports fan, and in particular in F1, to like look at it and feel like the way we do things are kind of sacred, like this is how it's done. But when in actuality, so many of these things are very recent inventions, and like you don't have to go that far back in history for it to be very, very different. So it's like, part of me is like open for like way more experimentation and like way more weirder stuff, and just having a weekend, or as long as everybody's on equal terms in terms of what the experiment is, then like let's just try stuff and see if it's fun. What's the harm? It's one race.
Yeah, and that seems to be the general way they've been handling the sprint races for the past couple of seasons. Like, we're going to introduce this thing, we'll see how it goes, and we'll tinker with it around the edges to see exactly.
We're definitely going to see more of them in the future.
Oh, no
I think
doubt,
I think their fans debate it, and there's some people who are grouchy about it, and I can even be a little grouchy about it. But the reality is like, I think over the years we'll just see more. The only reason we're not doing more is financial, right? Is that it's costly for them. It's more expensive for the teams, and the additional risk of crashing it also incurs a financial cost. And with the new cap, that there was a lot of complaining about how they were going to manage that. And there's also concerns about, like big macroeconomic concerns about inflation and blah, 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 and how that's affecting their ability to pay for all this stuff. So just as long as when they get the dollars and the cents worked out and how they're going to, what financial allowances they're going to give the team when we have these, they'll do more of them for sure.
Do you ever foresee it becoming the standard race weekend? like a quali on
we had
Friday?
like 20, like if we had like 23 sprint races.
Nonstop?
I don't know. I mean,
if they're successful,
if they're successful, I guess, yeah. Maybe that feels crazy right now, but in actuality, if they're fun, people are watching, people are tuning in for Friday quali, they're driving good ticket attendance, it seems to like F1's attitude would be like, well, people are watching more and engaging more with the sport. Let's do more of this. The only question would be, is at some point do the teams push back and be like, it's too much. There's too much going on, And
I think you even saw a little bit of that at the start of last season, where the drivers were kind of like, we don't love it. It's exciting. Surely the fans love it, but we're doing now 2 races every single weekend.
Yeah, and like I just said, it's like we were supposed to have 6 sprint races this year, and we went back to 3 because the teams complained so much about the financial aspect. So to make it 15, 20 plus, I don't know. There'd have to be something more structural would have to change, I think, to enable that. But I bet you, like Stefano Domenicali and the bigwigs at F1 would love that if they could pull it off.
Sure.
I just don't, might just be a ways away. So.
Did have a few nice performances on Saturday. We talked about Sainz, P10 to P4. I thought Valtteri was really good. Finished P7. He looked pretty fast, I thought.
Valtteri had a great weekend, period.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll get to him a little bit later. I got some questions for you about the battle with George Russell there at the end of the Grand Prix. And then McLaren finished 5th and 6th in the sprint race. They've really bounced back after a terrible start to the season.
McLaren back? I mean, it's a good question. We gotta ask
ourselves. I don't know. Danny Rich struggled on Sunday.
Yeah, no. You're right, and but it is. I think at the end of the day, that's probably one where I was wrong. Like I saw them at the start of the season, and I was like, I don't know how you fix this fast. This feels like such a mess. They felt so far off the pace. They have, and don't get me wrong. They're nowhere near Red Bull or Ferrari. If the only reason they're gonna finish ahead of either of any of those cars is if somebody makes a mistake, which we'll talk about. But it's like, beyond that, it's, they clearly have found a lot of pace. Clearly are back in a place where they're, I think, going to be able to compete for third in the championship. It seems like to me.
So. They don't seem to be that much different than Mercedes' car right now. And honestly, who knows what's going on?
If anything, the car. I mean, I guess it's an interesting question, but right now it seems like you probably would rather be driving a McLaren than you would a works Mercedes. I mean, I think they seem. I know Mercedes is still ahead of them in the championship, and
they've had a couple of fortunate results.
Yeah, they have had a couple of fortunate results, but it does seem to me like the car is more manageable, more predictable, and they have a better grasp over what the issues are. Where Mercedes does seem very lost right now.
100% agree. Last question about the sprint race. We mentioned there's more points available. Top 8 getting points now. I think it goes 8, 7, 6, 5, all the way down to 1 point for P8. Different than the last season sprint races. Which is more important? I think I know your answer here. Which is more important though, the points or where your position is for the race? Like, would you jeopardize trying to get more points? I mean, you do get more position, but I mean, some of these teams aren't going to really always be able to be in the points. In the race, should you be prioritizing trying to pick up points in the sprint race?
I think it depends. Like, I think it depends on what you want to achieve. Like, for me, if I'm stuck, if I'm McLaren and I find myself fortunately, I don't know. Let's say I'm stuck behind a Ferrari or a Red Bull and their tires have totally gone and I'm actually in a really great position to do an overtake, but it seems risky or they're being really elbows out. I probably don't do it because, to be honest, on the next day, they're going to overtake me in the race anyways.
That's a good point.
Why am I fighting for that position? You know what I mean? When it's not actually gaining me anything. So I think, so for me, at the same time though, I do think if you're, so many of the things that happened on Sunday were a byproduct of what happened on the first lap on Sunday. Definitely. for the top people. So to me, it's like if you want to, if depending on where you are in the standings and what you're fighting for, I could see different levels of aggression in the sprint race.
Well, let's get into the Grand Prix on Sunday, because after the sprint race, we had a front row of Max Verstappen on pole, Charles Leclerc in P2, followed by Perez and Sainz in the second row. We'll get to the results here, or the categories here in a minute, but first let's take a look at the results. Your podium, you got Verstappen in P1, you got a Red Bull 1-2, Sergio Perez coming in P2 there. Lando Norris sneaks onto the podium, you love to see it, in P3, followed by Russell, Bottas, Leclerc, Tsunoda, Sebastian Vettel, Kevin Magnussen, and Lance Stroll. Not maybe the three last point scorers you would imagine here, Vettel, Magnussen, and Stroll, but an interesting top 10 in Imola. So, Graydon, first question, first category, what's your big takeaway from the Imola Grand Prix?
The biggest takeaway is the championship battle is on, right? This is, everybody was far too quick to claim that Ferrari, was in control. It just took one bad weekend for the Prancing Horses and one dominant weekend for Red Bull to rocket Red Bull right back confidently into second in the standings, to put Max Verstappen all the way from sixth into second in the driver's standings, and to just make it clear that Ferrari's going to have to keep up the pace and keep up the pressure for all season long if they intend to bring home this title. So I think which is great and super exciting, because I think it suggests we're in for a really exciting season and some really great battles between Leclerc and Verstappen in particular. I think that's got to be the number one takeaway.
Totally, yeah.
You know, I think that's like, I don't know. Anything else?
That to me is the big thing. And mine kind of goes really hand in hand with that. Was like, this was the first time we've seen Ferrari falter at all.
Yeah,
it feels like. I mean, Verstappen has a race win already this season before Imola. And as they were mentioning on the broadcast, you finish a race, you win a race, is what it's been for Verstappen so far. But the Red Bull's reliability has been an issue for both him and Perez so far to start the season. Ferrari, this wasn't like reliability issues, but maybe driver reliability issues with maybe not Carlos Sainz's fault that he gets spun out by Danny Rick there on lap 1, but the Leclerc stuff, he admitted, he's like, I took it past the limit, and I hit that sausage curb too hard. I was very happy to hear that coming back into our parlance.
The sausage curbs are
back.
But
the question came out after this, like, basically Leclerc was going for the fastest lap. Like, he went in and he wanted to try and steal that extra championship point, which might end up mattering further down the line. Was that a mistake? Should they have told him like they did the prior Grand Prix? You don't need it right now. Don't worry about it.
I think it's even worse than that. I think what they did is if the goal was just to get fastest lap, they pitted at the wrong time. They should have waited to like the third to last lap so that you put a little bit more pressure on Red Bull. They can't counter as quickly. And even though you give up second, by that point, he would have had a full pit stop gap between Lando behind him in fourth, and he could have just done that. I think the mistake Ferrari really made was doing it so early, undercutting Perez, and then getting them so close that it tempted Leclerc to go for second. Mm-hmm. That was the thing that I think he really made the mistake was, and where they kind of mismanaged his aggression. He always has been a risk taker. He always has been willing to like go for the gap, go for the hole, push the limit, and he's on that edge of the limit, that just going past it part. And I think Ferrari and Matthias, you saw that in Australia. They were trying to rein him in. Don't push it too hard. Just manage it. That's the message they need to be consistently telling him, because his proclivity is the other direction, to be over aggressive. So it's like, and I think the worst part in this instance is they enabled his aggression. They were like, no, here's some fresh tires, go for it. And I do think that's a mistake. I think they should have just like kept it cool. And if you want to do it at the very, very end, I think it probably would have been just fine. Sure. It probably would have been just fine, but because then he's doing it in clear air and it's just a couple of laps, you got to hook up. But so I think they mismanaged that. Yeah. Of course, the responsibility primarily falls on Charles for blowing it. I'm not trying to blame the pit wall for the mistake.
But they encouraged it.
But they encouraged it, yeah.
Whereas they definitely shut it down. In Australia, maybe the difference is at that point he had fastest lap in the pocket already, leading the race, right? Like it's different compared to Imola, where
I do get that they were getting. I think they were. Truth is, they were getting nervous about the fact that Max. The points haul Max is about to take home. I think it's easy to toss away that point when you feel like you're just smoking them, and and Max wasn't even going to finish in Australia, and you're just like, listen, we got this. But I think suddenly a little bit of pressure and your risk reward calculus starts to change very fast. You know what I mean? So I think they started to, and that's probably where that came from. But it blew up in their face big time.
Yeah, this was the first time to me it seemed like Ferrari reward ratio, like you're saying. Last year, he had quite a few DNFs, which is why he was behind Sainz for such a long time in the standings last year. But this year had been a pretty clean Grand Prix season for Leclerc until he took too much sausage curb, as I think even Lando Norris was saying that. He's like, he took a ton of curb on that one. Just flew over it, spun out. I don't know what you make of Sainz's GP. Pretty tough weekend for this guy.
Sainz, I don't blame him for the contact with Ricciardo. I think that Ricciardo, it could have left him more space, but I think it was a racing incident, and appropriately enough, it's very early on the first lap. It's really bad luck, but it is also, Sainz has just got to start finishing some races here. Mm-hmm. I mean, at this point, it's starting to cost them. 2 DNFs in a row is starting to cost them. And if he's just on the track, in my opinion, it's like he's probably in Australia, he probably takes home second, looking like what the Ferrari was doing. It was so dominant. It's probably a 1-2 in Australia. And then I would say worst case scenario, it's a 3, maybe 4. He's up there fighting him for a podium place in Imola if he just keeps it on the track as well. So I think it's in this instance, it's like that's a huge points haul that for the team he's left, he's left on the board. So, but I also think that in both those instances, the Australia one, you could blame him more maybe, but at the end of the day, I think he'll figure it out. I think he'll pull it together. I think it'll be just fine. It's just going to be, I promise you, if we get to the end of the season and that's a razor tight constructors championship battle, he's going to be sitting there, festering over like kind of these last two. So.
And it's just different to see with Sainz. He's like such a steady competitor. I feel like where he's not taking huge risks like you're saying Leclerc does. So to see him struggle has been a little bit of a disappointment, especially I just flash back to the first race of the season, a Ferrari 1-2, and we're like, Carlos, man, go easy on yourself. You finished second here, but
my God,
apparently he was right. Apparently that guy knows what's going on inside of his own car.
Yeah, I guess I think he'll figure it out. I think he just needs
we're still early. We've been talking
still
about
early.
F1 for
One race where he'll get back on the podium. He'll do whatever, and he'll be just fine. I really do believe that.
All right, the Sainz and Leclerc incidents probably the most impactful moments, all considered from the Grand Prix. But what do you think was the best moment in Imola?
Gosh, that's a good question. For me, it's probably, nothing really came of it. I loved the Bottas hunting Russell stretch at the end. It didn't end up producing kind of like the dramatic overtake I think maybe we were, a lot of people were hoping for, but it was just good. It was just good, tense stuff.
That was my question for you. That's like lap 57, basically. Bottas tracks down Russell. He's about within a second, I would say, for the majority of these laps. Are you surprised that Russell was holding him off? Was this good defending from George Russell? It didn't look like he was doing anything crazy or anything out of the ordinary with regards to his drive. I thought, though, that Bottas was going to pass him for sure.
I feel like, first of all, Russell deserves a lot of credit for a great drive last week, and especially where you look at where Lewis ended up. It's like he clearly is doing a really great job with the car and deserves a lot of credit. However, I feel like it mostly was just Bottas probably running out of tire life and just not having the pace to really do it. I think we found that it was harder to overtake at Imola than people thought, and that it just wasn't nearly as easy as we expected it to be. The only really, really significant overtake we saw was, how hard maybe Leclerc had a time holding off Perez right after he came out of the pits, but his tires were cold as opposed to Perez being warmed up, whatever. It's like, so I think that's, it's not really relevant in this instance. So I think it's more that it's just like, man, overtaking was tough. And you saw that with the DRS train and all those people in the midfield that just stuck there going round and round and round, unable to do anything. It just that. And I feel like Bottas was just a victim of that. Yeah. Because he had the pace.
Just didn't have enough.
He had the pace. Yeah. Same thing with Leclerc initially too. Leclerc had the pace over Perez. He would have been lapping faster if he was in clear air in front of him. But he didn't have the pace to overtake him, and that's that. You know what I mean? So,
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that Bottas versus Russell moment. That was really cool, especially considering the way last season ended and the team's changing.
And their crash, their big crash at Imola last year, right? This is where they had that really rough crash, right? Where they were flicking each other off or whatever, or smacking each other's helmets or be whatever. So they're definitely was wondering were they gonna. I like Russell and all, but I kind of wanted Valtteri to nick him. I wanted him to get him. I was like,
I'm a Merkhead, but I was like,
get him. I thought it would have been fun. Yeah. I don't know. Other than that, I mean, you're probably right to say this race wasn't just full of memorable moments. Great,
I mean, Verstappen and Perez were way ahead, and then Lando was so far ahead of Russell. So I mean, the top three, not a lot of action, and I even thought that you mentioned the DRS train. That was one of the moments I liked. It was probably around lap 15, still a little wet. I think most everybody is still on intermediates at that point, and it was P9 through maybe P14 were all DRS in the DRS zone, but they wouldn't open the DRS. And they're like, when are we getting DRS? When are we opening this thing? And it's like, nope, you're just all driving around in a circle.
And by the time they opened it, people had started to space out. It wasn't there. It definitely, I was one of the people on Twitter being like, when the heck are they going to do this? They're being way too conservative about this. You know, there was
That's just the wetness factor.
It was just a wetness factor because in order to use the DRS, you have to come off the racing line, right, to overtake. So you're coming off the dry line.
Dry part.
So then you're passing, and you're entering the braking zone, slamming on your brakes on a wet line, and it is more dangerous. I get it, but it seemed like everybody agreed. Drivers, fans, pit walls. Only people who were happy about that, I guess, were seemingly the race directors and Red Bull. Yeah. Because had it come out sooner, Perez would have been more vulnerable had it come out sooner.
That's a good point.
Yeah. So yeah.
The other little moment that I liked, not technically a moment from the race, but immediately after the race, the cool down room.
Oh, the cool down room is back.
Where Verstappen, Perez, and Norris are just hanging out, like watching replays.
The cool down room is so good.
It was awesome, man. Is that a thing?
Yeah. So it's I think it's a. I mean, I guess somebody in the Slipstream team, tell me if I'm wrong, but they got rid of the cool down room during COVID.
Sure.
Initially, because you weren't having people in this like small room unmasked together or whatever. But now I guess, you know, we're at a place where there's enough comfort level and things that it's back. And it used to be great. I mean, because this cool down room moment was, I would say, fairly cordial and kind of undramatic. It's like Lando and, you know, it's two teammates and Lando and they're all fine.
The breeze,
but
basically.
like think if you had a cool down room in some of the races at the end of last season with Lewis and Max or something, standing there drinking water together, watching highlights. There's times in the past where it is incredibly tense, which makes for great television. Yeah. I mean, it's awesome television.
Yeah, I'm sure the tense stuff is awesome because I was loving like these three guys just chilling, talking about the race. I thought it was hilarious when Lando's like, hey, do I have some water? Yeah, it's back there behind your helmet. Just grab some. All right.
Lando's maybe never been in a cool down room before. Because when was his first podium was probably during COVID. So it probably precedes, you know, I mean, this might be his first, I don't know, is that right? I think it is, but it's like but it's from like 2019 and before. They used to always do this, and it's great, and I am very glad it's back.
Yeah, no doubt. It was so cool. I was like, is this a mistake? Like, did they leave the cameras on accident and we're getting behind the scenes footage from these guys?
One of the best, F1 is such like a weird, massive global spectacle. You know, this like incredibly insane sport, so much money and so much everything. But actually, it does this great job of balancing like intimacy and like getting these very personal moments, whether it's like you're actually hearing the radio debates between the racing engineer and the driver, or you're getting the cool down room or whatever. They do a great job of like zooming you in to these people's lives at these like very critical moments. So I'm a fan. I'm glad it's back.
Yeah, so I love like hearing like Lando talk about seeing Leclerc, you know, basically go off and then being like, well, I saw how much curb he took. I was like, I'm taking no curve for the rest here. Just going to finish the race.
They don't, and a lot of these things, they're watching it for the first time. They're like seeing highlights. They're seeing a crash. They're seeing an overtake. You know, they don't know that this is what's happened, right? Mm-hmm. They have a loose sense. Maybe the racing engineer tells Perez, Leclerc has spun out. He's not behind you anymore. You're cool. You know, like, just manage your tires, play it safe, or something like that. Like, Perez is aware nobody's breathing down his neck anymore, but like, he didn't see it. He doesn't know. He doesn't, you know what I mean? So they're watching it together, which is fun.
Yeah, and apparently you can watch TV as well when you're driving. I thought that was crazy. I was watching him in the DRS train while I was driving. The guy's going 200 miles an hour in the rain, just watching TV.
What drivers notice is incredible. It's like superhuman. There's a great anecdote about Ayrton Senna that I think is from Monaco. But there's a blind corner, I believe it's in Monaco, and Senna was coming around the blind corner, you know, full speed ahead, and on the far side of the corner, a guy had crashed, and he slows up coming around the corner and misses him, and so he's able to dodge him, but he couldn't see the guy, and they asked him after the race, how did you know to slow up? And he was like, I saw in the crowd, everybody was looking around the corner, not looking at me. So I knew something must have happened on the far side. And I'm like, how do you possibly notice that? Like, guys, like, I mean, like, notice where the fans are looking as you're, like, at the pace you're doing. An insane, like, sensory ability.
Sure. I think Brundle had something similar when maybe it was like, was it Gasly that had a crash at Spa not too long ago, and he just came in the wrong line, but then he disappeared on his crash, and Brundle was like, I could just tell he was coming in on the wrong line, so it was gonna be a crash. Like, wild stuff.
Brundle has great insights into that about just like off the cuff sometimes, or just like a racer he just knows. You know, it's incredible. So.
All right, our next category, most surprising, most disappointing. I'm going to start this one, Graydon. What is going on with Lewis Hamilton? Honestly, somebody tweeted us a meme this week and said, this is Mercedes this year, and it was LeBron and Westbrook on the Lakers. My heart hurt because I couldn't deny it.
Yeah, there's a truth to that. That's right. I mean, it's a
in the Grand Prix, Hamilton starts P14, finishes P13, out of the points, and could not pass Pierre Gasly. Could not. Like, he was on him for laps. Rosberg was laughing at him, basically like, this
Rosberg
is the 20th time he's tried to pass him. Can't get it done.
Rosberg's Schadenfreude was turned up to 11. He was really taking a lot of joy in how much Hamilton was
But then you contrast that with Russell. P4, he holds off Bottas at the end there. You've got Toto apologizing to Lewis Hamilton, saying, we gave you an undrivable car. Why? What's so much different between these two cars? How has Russell been able to figure it out? And, like, is Hamilton just taking a gap year here? Is he just going to finish the races and not go all out? It's just a weird season.
It's definitely... Okay, there's a lot to unpackage here, right? Because they are going into these races with different setups sometimes, radically different setups as they try to figure out the car. Lewis is getting stuck in some tough spots. I think one thing that is proving true of the Mercedes is that some cars are better at following close than others. Some cars have the aerodynamics that allow them to follow closely. I actually think that this is, brief aside, an advantage that Red Bull has over Ferrari. I think the Red Bull is slightly better at following closely than the Ferrari is, and that's why you've seen Ferrari, even when it seems to have raw pace, struggle to overtake a little bit. But long story short, the Merc is clearly a car that struggles, and Russell is finding himself in space, whether he's creating that on purpose or whatever, and Lewis is finding himself stuck behind people. That was really what Lewis was complaining about, where he got fed back in behind Russell, where he said, you put me in a tough position. It wasn't like, oh, you put me in a tough position where I have to battle with my teammate. It was, you put me in a tough position because you stuck me right behind a car, and now I'm in its dirty air, and it's killing me. You know, so that was, he clarified that after the race. At least that's what he claimed his comment was about. But the other thing somebody said on Twitter, and I can't remember who it was, but I think there's some validity to this. What if Russell is just really used to driving awful cars and Lewis is not? He's been driving like total like beaters for his entire F1 career, and he knows how to muscle and make a car work. And Lewis is used to driving like perfectly calibrated machines and optimizing that, and doesn't know how to handle something that's kind of a piece of crap. Like, but Russell is like, oh, this is way better than my old car. Has pace and has confidence that he didn't used to have.
I don't think that's totally out of the realm of possibility. Russell's got to be thinking, this is the best car I've ever had.
It's the best
chance I've ever had. I'm taking advantage of it. Whereas Hamilton is probably like, this is the worst car I've had in 10 years. I'm not even anywhere close to the championship. I'm just going to try and bring it in with my neon green.
And it probably affects your psychology, right? Your ability to put it on the limit, how aggressively you're willing to take corners, how aggressively you're willing to push whatever. You know, Hamilton's confidence in the car is at an all-time low. Meanwhile, Russell's confidence in the car might be at an all-time high.
Probably so.
You know, like, and I do think that that's going to affect how they're out there. Some of it's also just a little bit of luck. You know, I think Hamilton has gotten unlucky with some pit window stuff and some this and that.
Cars.
It's just but at a certain point, the luck argument that like Russell's getting lucky, I think that is getting weaker and weaker and weaker with each succeeding race
Definitely.
as Russell continues to beat him, and especially also when Russell's so clearly outperforming him in qualifying.
Yeah.
Which is really
Yeah.
a place where you'd expect to be a little bit more of an equalizer.
Yeah,
in
they
most
just
conditions.
Hamilton in particular and Mercedes in general just don't seem to be the same this year. And Hamilton, I don't know, just been a weird. It's been a weird start to the year.
It's
I guess
really
Toto
weird.
is saying they've got some ideas for how to fix their ride height, which may be implemented at Miami, but they're going to need a serious change if they want to finish third. You know, like if they want to
Yeah,
continue to finish third in the constructors.
I don't know that it looks like they have the third fastest car on the grid.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't think that's what it looks like. I think they're getting not lucky, but they've been smart. They've managed races well, at least for the guy in the front, for Russell, and they've managed to take advantage of others' mistakes. But actually, there's huge points hauls that they don't have if you're not seeing yet again big errors from the top two teams. Like yet again, it's like Russell is finishing 2 places higher than he would have finished if just the best team brings all its cars home.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So it's like yet again, right? So I think that's so.
Well, honestly, good for George Russell to have like the worst luck for the beginning of his career, and now he's
Great.
getting some better luck than Lewis Hamilton.
Listen, he's crushing it. I think he's clearly shown. He actually had a lot of haters kind of coming out of these last couple of years who thought, everybody has anointed him the golden boy in the next generation, and he's clearly going to be the next Merc driver. But what has he done to earn that? He's good on Saturdays, but he really underperforms on Sundays, yada, yada, yada. Even in a Williams, he had a lot of critics. I think he's clearly silencing those critics. Like he's been terrific.
He's been great. I think it's just been probably a little bit overlooked considering Mercedes has had such a down year. So tough one for Ferrari, tough one for Mercedes.
Yep.
Any other surprises or disappointments?
I mean, Yuki looked great. I thought a great race from Yuki Tsunoda, right? This is, in general, like a good year from Yuki. I think like he's showing more maturity. Like he's not, I mean, my wife loves to joke about like if she sees, we're driving down the highway and somebody's like wrecked or pulled over on the side of the road, she's like, oh, look, it's Yuki. Like I think it's like she like she's always like it just feels like it was a 50-50 shot at him even bringing the car home last year. And this year I think he just seems more mature, he seems competitive, he's coming a long way. It feels as if he does have a place on the grid for years to come, and that's great. And his performance in a car that hasn't looked that good, the AlphaTauri has not looked that good, for him to finish where he did, great work, man. Good stuff.
I mean, he's ahead of Pierre Gasly in an AlphaTauri as well. P12 on the season for Yuki, P13 for Pierre so far. I mean, Pierre's had a solid season. He just hasn't done anything spectacular so far, but I think the improvement from Yuki is definitely more notable.
They in their minds, they're probably underperforming, but the car is just not there. I don't know if I put it on the drivers quite as much, but the car, they're definitely had hoped to be a solid step ahead of a bunch of other midfield teams, and it just hasn't come together for him quite that way.
I'd say also a little disappointing. Fernando Alonso, another DNF, retired at lap 7.
Yeah,
he's looked fast, I feel like, every single weekend, and had quite a few bad luck incidents go his way. But
yeah, for sure,
tough one for Fernando. Moving on.
Sure.
Got to give out our awards, Graydon. We've been trying to figure out a way to make a trophy out of like a can of beans or a gigantic bean. Full beans driver of the day. Who you got? Driver of the weekend, if you will.
Full beans driver.
Who went full beans all out there?
I'm gonna give it to George Russell. I'm gonna give it to George Russell. I mean, I feel like this is a tough one this week because I feel like nobody has an insane, just over the top race. It's not Max to me. Maybe it is for you. For me, it's like he just is so in control the whole time. You know what I mean? That it's like it's an easy race for him. It's like an easy race. It's like, but who I think had to really like dig in and put in a great drive. Oh, who actually I could also say? Sebastian Vettel. Sure. Sebastian Vettel, maybe
P8.
But in a car that has looked awful.
And he has also not looked very good so
has
far.
looked awful. And honestly, to bounce back with a P8, that's a great drive. So Vettel said himself that there's races he's won or races he's been on the podium, but in different cars, where he raced a much worse race than he did this past Sunday. So I'm going to go with Sebastian Vettel.
That's not bad. P8 for Vettel, P10 for Lance Stroll. First points of the season, I think, for Aston Martin, who's had a tough start.
And interestingly enough, now I believe this is the earliest in the season, or they were saying, I think I read this, that all 10 teams have scored points.
Huh.
That this is the earliest into a season ever that no team is left without a point.
No shutouts.
Yeah. What about yourself? Who's your?
Yeah, I thought it was kind of hard to choose, so I went Verstappen. He was on pole after quali. He won the sprint race. He won the Grand Prix.
Yeah.
He won the fastest lap. But the real reason I gave it to him is because when he won the Grand Prix, you heard Horner on the radio. Max points. Do you think he's saying that because maximum points, or because his name is Max?
Points.
Well, that's what I'm wondering. That's what I was wondering. Like, we had Tommy points with the Celtics.
Oh, yeah.
What do you think Max Verstappen is giving out awards for? Like
it's not
if he sees
like Stappen bucks.
Yeah, it's kind of like Stappen bucks. Like if your hat, you've got a nice bend on your hat right now. If that was a straight build hat, you would get a max point for that. My favorite color is orange. I think I would get
a max point for that. And it's
yeah.
like you get like max credit. Yeah, and you can use them at the Max store in Amsterdam or whatever.
Yeah, the Max.
It's fair to give it. It's fair to give it to Max. I acknowledge that. Yeah, here's the. Are we getting it a little?
No max points. We gotta flatten that thing out.
I get that. That's a super defensible, like, kind of full beans order of the day. He just cleaned up all weekend. He cleaned up all weekend.
He dominated.
It's like there's no two ways about it, right? That was almost the problem. Is like he was too good.
Yeah, he was a little too good, a little too max points. Let us know in the comments what other Max Verstappen points would he be handing out. We're gonna take a quick break here, and when we come back, we're going to dinner, buddy.
But let's talk about Saks, baby. Not talking about Kenny G. Let's talk about underwear that keeps your balls in the place to be. Let's talk about Saks. That took me 8 hours to come up with that.
Worth it.
Yeah. Saks is obsessed with the comfort of your manhood. They make the most comfortable underwear for men thanks in large part to their patented ballpark pouch. That's fun to say. Ballpark pouch. But Saks does more than just make kick-ass underwear. They also have a wide range of high-performance sport apparel. Let's talk about the 2-in-1.
Saks, baby.
No, yeah, it's catchy, isn't it?
Yeah,
Let's talk about the 2-in-1 sport shorts. These things are legit. I wore them last night. Each style comes with an integrated liner and the
pouch.
What's it called?
Ballpark pouch.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's
like a
their
ballpoint pen. It's a ballpark pouch.
That's their patented technology that holds your balls in place. The beauty of Saks' 2-in-1 shorts is you don't have to worry about wearing underwear. And you know how money that is down here in Hotlanta?
Cool.
Got humid this week.
The less fabric you need on your body, the better. So remove the underwear, wear the 2-in-1 shorts because it's integrated. 4-way stretch, shell, breathable mesh liner, ballpark pouch,
Beep.
pockets.
Yeah. Pocket dogs.
Yeah.
Pocket dog in there.
Boom. And then there's Saks' Sport to Life short. This style, it's built to go back and forth, right, between sport and everyday activities. You're in the gym. Now you're grabbing a beer. Now you're back in the gym. Now you're hanging with friends.
Ooh, working out after a few
Now you're eating a hot dog.
2 days.
Now you're doing bar 3.
Oh, yeah.
You're wearing the same shorts. Here and there, here and there. It doesn't matter. This guy does it all. These shorts are guys.
These shorts are guys. I would agree.
That's better than this.
What's better than this? Ballpark pouch. And you already know everything is backed by Saks' Comfort Guarantee. That's 100% satisfaction or your money back. Take advantage of our special offer today. Head on over to Saks.com/NoDunks and get 10% off plus free shipping using the promo code NoDunks. That's SAXX.com/NoDunks. Promo code NoDunks for 10% off and free shipping. JD, what do you got, my man?
Yeah, Grammarly, my old friend. Grammarly's free and premium features can save you time and give you the confidence of knowing your writing is professional. Now, me, I'm a lot of things. Professional? I don't really consider myself very professional. It's kind of a side effect of, rolling out of bed, in your jammies, coming down to your garage and cranking out a classic with your friends. I mean, is this even a job? I mean, it doesn't really feel like it, but the reality is we work for a massive company And Grammarly really helps me communicate with our colleagues with clarity, with clarity adjustments, formality level, and my favorite, tone detector. One time, I actually ruined someone's weekend. She told me that because of one of my emails. I don't care for your tone, her email said to me. It's very terse. And I was being terse. In fact, I was being rude, but she must have been using Grammarly because terse really nails it and makes her sound very professional. And Grammarly has a ton of features and helps you save time, strike the right tone, and deliver high-quality work with things like Grammarly Premium's full sentence rewrites, which help you effectively convey your ideas and avoid miscommunication. And of course, I've already mentioned it, Grammarly's free tone detector. You don't even need the premium version for that one, and it ensures your message is never misinterpreted. Get through those emails and your work quicker by keeping it concise, confident, and effective with Grammarly. Go to Grammarly.com/NoDunks to sign up for a free account. And when you're ready to upgrade to Grammarly Premium, get 20% off just for being a No Dunks listener. That's 20% off at GRAMMARLY.com/NoDunks.
Peloton! My old friend.
You said that so weird. Just the word Peloton coming out of your mouth at that level is
Marketing, though, stays in your brain. Oh, it worked.
Peloton.
Exactly, yeah. Peloton is pushing you further with so much new on the Peloton bike and Peloton Bike Plus. New classes, new music, new ways to keep your workouts fun and motivating. Work out to the music of a single artist for an entire class, from your favorite hits to the deep cuts. For me, that could mean I start with something from, say, Rihanna, Nelly, Kesha, maybe.
Yeah.
And then I'll ease off a little bit as the class wears down. Maybe a little Robbie Williams, a little Mariah Carey, maybe. You know.
Kesha.
Maybe. Kesha, yeah, she's great.
I'm surprised by Kesha for sure.
Yeah, you can't not get into a movement like if you hear Kesha on the radio. You're bopping away. No question about it.
I love a movement. So movement is great.
Movement is key.
With Kesha.
Look, it's not just my musical taste is pop to rock to hip hop and others. There are over 100 artist series to choose from. Find your favorite music and turn on your next workout into a concert. Peloton has a workout for every goal, day, and mood. De-stress from a long day with 30 minutes of strength and 20 minutes of cardio, or just do a quickie, a 15-minute total body class before work. Stay motivated while having fun with bike workouts, yoga, meditation, dance, cardio, and more. Visit onepeloton.com to learn more. That's ONEPELOTON.com.
Back with no breaks. Graydon, you a big Kesha fan?
I really like Kesha.
What?
I mean,
I've never heard
I'm not
this
a big
great of
Kesha
reviews
fan,
on
but like
Kesha.
Timber's a jam.
Timber's a jam. TikTok is a jam.
TikTok's a jam. Okay, big. I'm not like a big fan, but like when it comes on, am I glad? Like I'm happy it's there. I'm happy it's come into my life.
I'm glad you're reminded
My
me of
only
Timber.
problem with Kesha. Not long enough concerts. Not freeform enough. Not freeform enough. Like there's just not enough like unstructured hour-long songs.
Yeah. The 2.5 hour version of TikTok is way different. But I don't know if the world is ready. If you show up in a Kesha shirt the next time we're here, I don't know. We're canceling the show. Anyways, we got a bit of F1 news these past couple of weeks. Most intriguing to me comes from News18.com. 3 teams have asked the FIA to investigate the similarities between the new Ferrari and the new Haas. Reminded me right away, of course, of Racing Point's pink Mercedes from a couple of years back. I've even seen the Haas has been called the white Ferrari at this point. So what's the gray area here? Like, I've seen, like Red Bull went over to look at Ferrari's car after the Bahrain GP. It seems like copying is allowed, but not too much copying.
I mean, you certainly can copy any component of a car that you can visibly see.
Sure.
Like that. Like that's allowed. In the sense that it's it's visible. There are certain things that, you're not allowed to share in between teams, parts that are required that they be developed independently. And if they are too similar, I certainly think that could raise some eyebrows. At the same time, Ferrari and Haas, they are their engine provider. There is some data or some information they're sharing. They're not just like in a vacuum being like, here's our engine,
Sure.
here's no additional data on it. They provide some information. So from my vantage point, from what I've read, it's like I have no idea whether this is valid or not. Like, I honestly don't.
Seems a little bit like the haters.
I think there's like two. I think it's like, okay, Ferrari's still, there's a lot of suspicions around Ferrari after widespread accusations of cheating a few years ago. It's on the top of everybody's mind after the whole, Racing Point Mercedes thing. Also, when people get behind, they absolutely just start hurling these accusations and making people's lives hard. And it's now the stewards are checking more, and now they're interrupting what you're doing, and now you've got to prove all this stuff. It's just like gumming up the works for a team, distracting them. So some of it, is it gamesmanship? Is it kind of all of the above? Yeah, yes, and it doesn't have to be one or the other. It could be, I don't know.
That's the thing that I think is so funny about it, is that Haas is 8th place in the Constructors' Championship. Like, they're much better than they were last year. Kevin Magnussen has been a surprise success, no doubt. P10
Totally.
right now in the drivers. But Mick Schumacher hasn't scored a point. It's not like Haas is suddenly winning every race out here.
No.
Competing for the best of the rest championship. They had a good start to the race, which was start to the season, which was surprising, and now they're just a midfield team. You don't need to be going after Haas, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a little weird. I mean, part of me feels like, is this the hope that there'd be some blowback on Ferrari instead of Haas? I don't even know. It does feel like the ways in which they also choose to punish these teams, they have so much discretion about the way it's not as if, I don't even know, can literally anybody say, oh, well, if they find they did X, that means the punishment is Y. It's like even when Ferrari was almost certainly cheating with its engine, they just were like, and don't do that again.
Yeah.
There was
It's a wrist slapper.
Yeah, right. It's like, what is even the penalty here? I don't know. So it is a little weird, but I guess if they think there's something there, I mean, I'm sure any of the teams would do this to any of the other teams. It is universally, this is something I think nobody's above this sort of petty gamesmanship, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think maybe some more teams should be looking at the Haas and stealing some ideas. Mercedes, what's up with your side pods?
Come on, man.
Where are they? Get some and maybe you'll be competitive. But we'll see what comes from it. At the very least, we did get a great quote from Gunther Steiner about this. You have to work hard for envy. You get pity for free. I wish the others would be green with envy, because that means we did a very good job. That's bars from Gunther Steiner.
God,
this guy is one of the most
legend.
quotable in the game.
My God, he is, what a joy.
He's the best.
What a gift.
Speaking of team principles, our next piece of news is only kind of news. It's a tweet from F1 Media, at F1 Media. All the team principals went out to dinner prior to the Imola GP. I got a few thoughts for you, Graydon, on this one.
Yeah.
First and foremost, this looks exactly like the white guys at a baseball meme.
Yeah, big time. Big time. Big energy.
Every face just popping in. No. We're all smiling. We all got side parts. I think that's hilarious.
This is not
Yeah.
diversity at F1's lead, but this is your campus admissions poster where you've got a very kind of diverse look at life at Swarthmore or something. This is not that. No.
The only diversity you're seeing here is in what kind of collared shirt you're going to be wearing. You got Zach Brown in a work shirt. Toto's wearing underneath
McLaren,
a sweater.
2 invites here, Andre Seidel and Zach Brown.
That's because it's confusing, man. You don't know which person is which. Who's actually making the calls there. You'd think it's Zach with the way he talks, but apparently it's Seidel. The other thing's interesting. I like that Christian Horner and Toto Wolff are sitting
very far
as far away as they possibly can.
Very far apart.
I would maybe think about putting them on the same side. Like maybe you would move Horner to where Gunther Steiner's sitting there, just so they don't have to see each other at all. Yeah.
You know what, for me, the most notable thing about this photo is?
I know what you're going to say. No pumpernickel toast.
Oh, what's something else that's missing? It's Mike Crack. You cannot see Mike Crack in this photo.
They covered him up?
Because he's not there. He's not there.
He should have gotten an invite.
He did get an invite apparently, and it's like something like he like didn't check his email or something like that. I forget what it was, but apparently he did get invited and just like didn't get the message, which I don't know how. I gotta presume they've all got each other's like numbers and can text him and be like, hey, Mike, it's Stefano. Like, come to dinner.
Come to dinner.
Like, or something. Where are you? Or even when they got there and they're like, "Where's Mike?" It's like he's only 20 minutes away or something.
He's here.
Call him.
Yeah,
Call him.
we know he's
there.
here.
Tell him to come over. But I guess they didn't care.
Yeah, that's shitty for Mike Crack.
Sorry.
Question I got for you, Graydon. You're out for a dinner party.
Yeah.
You and
Yep.
Taryn. You get to invite 2 team principals. Who are you bringing with you?
Wow. Okay. Gunter Steiner.
Great guy.
I mean, that's like, I feel like who's not bringing Gunter at this point? I feel like he's good. But the real question is number 2.
Mike Crack.
Is it Mike Crack? Mike Crack. Yeah. I mean, I'm tempted. I would love to have dinner with Toto Wolff.
Yeah.
He'd be so fascinating to talk to. But is he the most fun person to have at dinner?
That's a great question.
But I'm going to say Gunter and Toto. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, Gunther's kind of undeniable. You would want him to be there. He's just such a jovial
He's on my
guy.
like silly like you could have dinner with 3 people from history. It's like, oh,
He
it's
makes the list.
MLK, Napoleon Bonaparte, and Gunter Steiner.
And then I don't know. I probably would lean towards Toto as well. I would like to get some Ginger Spice stories from Christian Horner, no doubt about it. And maybe Joss Capito would be fun to have around.
He is really
I think
fun.
between Gunther and Joss, you would be having a raucous dinner party.
Yeah,
with
that's
those
fun.
guys.
He's in arguably a very fun one. I do agree with Christian. Like Christian, I feel like it's high risk, high reward. He'd either be super annoying at dinner or like really great, like one-on-one. But it might just be the Christian Horner show. Now I got to sit there and hear you just like.
He would dominate the conversation.
Yeah,
That's
for sure.
probably true.
Yeah, I can't even get a word in edgewise, Christian. Come on.
All right, let us know in the comments who you're having dinner with or where you would sit for the team principals dinner there in Imola. Our final piece of news is from Deadline.com. Not a racing website, Graydon. This is an entertainment website. Director Michael Mann has started pre-production on Ferrari, a biopic about Enzo Ferrari, legendary founder of the Scuderia. Going to star Adam Driver, Penelope Cruz, and Shailene Woodley, among others. No release date yet. You excited about this? You're Tifosi.
I am excited. You know what? I am excited. First of all, Enzo is a super fascinating figure and a really complicated figure, so I think he's a good person to do a proper biopic of. We got like Ford versus Ferrari recently, but it didn't really delve into the reality that is like Enzo's journey from like running Alfa Romeo like into starting his own company, whatever. I'm a big Michael Mann fan.
Man fan.
I'm a Mann fan.
Sure.
Like
He makes good movies.
He
no
makes
doubt.
good movies. I'm in on Michael Mann stuff. So it's like like a moody kind of drawn out thing. A bit like the music I love. It's like I want it long. I want it
Longer
like
than better.
unstructured and and just like more vibes. Yeah, Michael Mann is more vibes than plot. I feel like, and that's is that what this movie needs? I don't know, but I think it'll be good.
What about you, JD? You're a Michael Mann fan?
I am a fan of some of his movies, yes. I'm not going to...
Not across the board?
Not across the board. I'm looking at the list here. I didn't like.
Heat's good.
Heat is overrated. It's the prince of movies. Slightly overrated.
It gets a lot of...
It's the prince of movies. Are you doing that? You're doing that just to try to like pick a fight with me because that one time we debated this at that bar.
Oh yeah, it's just ever so slightly
Ridiculous.
overrated. But
Like
The Insider is
Christian
one of the greatest movies.
The Insider is awesome.
Yeah, The
love
Insider's awesome.
And I'm excited for this. I'll definitely watch.
Wait, what else is on the list?
Okay, so we got Tokyo Vice is up is a series.
Yeah, I'm
episode
liking it.
1. I couldn't make it through the episode, to be honest.
I'm liking it.
Well, maybe I should give it another try.
It gets more. It's less people, cops, and gangsters looking sullen and more plot driven as it goes on.
Okay.
All
All
which
right.
is the
I'll
beginning.
Give it a go. There's
So
so much out there, though, Graydon.
fair
What
enough.
else we
A lot of shows
got?
these
We
days.
got Ali.
Collateral was good.
Collateral
Collateral is
was great.
good.
Yeah.
Collateral.
One of the best Tom Cruise.
Last of the Mohicans, which I saw when it came out, but I don't really remember. I don't remember hating it.
Yeah. You must love that. That's a long movie.
I do like Dustin Mohicans. You know what I tried to rewatch recently is his version of Miami Vice. His like the new I actually was not as into it as I remembered.
No.
I was like kind of bored. I was like,
Pretty stylish.
Uh,
this isn't.
But he was the original Miami Vice
totally.
guy, right?
Yes, he was the original one. But I'm talking about the Jamie Foxx, Colin Farrell one.
Yeah. I tried watching it again recently, and it was just like,
No, it's a little. At the beginning, I'm kind of like, this doesn't pick up fast enough.
Yeah.
For what I needed.
Yeah.
Which I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. I think it's going to be good. I think the Ferrari movie is going to be great.
Yeah, I was disappointed with Ford versus Ferrari. I didn't love it, but I'll watch this one for sure. But you're mentioning that he's a complicated character. I know that both Penelope Cruz and Shailene Woodley are playing like a wife and a mistress. Seems like we'll be getting a lot of off the track stuff.
I would expect as much, and probably like a lot of like tragedy and death. I think the thing like early in his career, like a lot of people who drove for Enzo, like die. While working for him, so it's like a very high
Could be a stressful
drama.
one.
Yeah, there's like a lot of that's there. I mean, it's back in the days where motorsport is just shockingly dangerous. just like
telling me the safety regulations were not up to snuff in the 1950s.
It's like 20 guys start the season, and assuredly
It's
4
just
of them
Enzo,
are gonna
yeah.
lose their life or something like that. Yeah.
How about F1 movies? What would you recommend? Actually, that we've already had released here. I mean, Senna's a big one. I watched Senna. Senna's the first movie I ever got from Netflix back when it was DVDs. I signed up for
First
Netflix.
ever?
Well, everybody's like, Senna is one of the all-time great sports documentaries.
It is a
like
good
the
one.
best one since Hoop Dreams. I feel like it was pitched at the time. Signed up, haven't left since. But now I would love to rewatch it since I actually know what's going on.
Are you still getting the DVDs sent to you? Or
Yeah, I'm stuck with DVDs. Yeah,
Respect.
I actually kept the Senna, because you can return it when you want to. I've had it for 15 years at this point.
I mean, I actually thought that Rush was a pretty good movie. It was like a fun, as far as like a fun Hollywood watch, it's like it's good, it's fun. I think it's a fairly good portrayal of the sport.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? That's the other one that jumps out at me. I don't know. What are the other?
Is Talladega Nights? It's not an F1 movie.
It's not an F1
It's more
movie.
of a NASCAR movie with a F1 component. With,
Days of Thunder.
That's NASCAR. I think.
No, it is NASCAR, but doesn't he start? He's an open wheel racer, I think. He has to learn his ways in NASCAR, right? I don't know if he's coming from F1 exactly, but he comes from like an open wheel racing circuit, I think so, or like series. So.
And then I know you've been trying to convince me to rewatch Driven, starring Ronnie Sunshine Bass from Remember the Titans and Sylvester Stallone.
Oh, right.
That's a movie I saw in the theater. Haven't seen it since.
I think I've never seen this movie.
It's
is why
brutal.
I want to watch it. I suspect it's great.
Well, we've got the summer break coming up in not too long for the Formula One season. Maybe we'll watch some of these movies and have some laughs.
I'm excited.
All right. Sounds good. We're going to take one more break. When we get back, we're going to Miami. Benvenido a Miami.
I got a trivia question for you guys.
Love trivia.
Very weird trivia when I think about it. But the question is, what are some things that keep getting better as you use them? I'm going to give you a hint, see if you can get it. Okay, so this one, you wear it on a motorcycle. What's something that keeps getting better the more you use it?
Leather jacket.
Leather jacket. It's good, right?
Right.
Okay. You use this in the kitchen and like flavor gets added to it.
Like a wok.
Not bad.
Like a wok, a cast iron skillet I was looking for, but a wok. Perfect. Final one. It's a product we love here on No Dunks.
Wedgies. Underwear.
You lie on it.
Bed.
Bowl and Branch sheets. Bowl and Branch sheets aren't just buttery, breathable, and comfortable. They get softer with every wash. It's crazy. And forget thread count. Stop talking about thread count like you think it matters. It doesn't matter.
No.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't. Bowl and Branch gives you thread quality. Quality over count. Remember that.
That's like fouls. They don't have to be even. You just got to make the right call.
Doesn't matter how many threads your sheets have if they aren't the best threads possible. That sort of blew my mind. We're just taught like thread count, thread count, thread count. But when you think about it, like what's the quality of the thread count?
Pitch count's the same, isn't it, Tassie?
Yeah. I think.
That's a good point. They're throwing less pitches, but
Yes.
they're throwing them harder. Throwing better pitches.
It's good. I got some Bowl and Branch, and they weren't joking about them getting softer after each wash. We've used them a couple times now, and it's true. They're getting better and better the more we wash them. Boll & Branch signature sheets come in 9 versatile colors in all sizes from twin up to California King. Are you a California King, man?
I am a California
God, you're
King,
living
man.
life.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, nice. You'll immediately feel the difference with these sheets. Best of all, Boll & Branch gives you a 30-night risk-free trial with free shipping and returns on all orders. That's confidence, baby, confidence in a product right there. Get 15% off your first set of sheets when you use the promo code NODUNKS at bollandbranch.com. That's Boll and Branch, BOLLAND branch.com. Promo code NODUNKS.
Green Chef. Our next sponsor is
I
Green
screwed up,
Chef.
man. I
That's
didn't
all right.
start Boll & Branch, yeah.
That's all right.
I had trivia, though.
4 out of 5 ain't
Yeah.
bad. Yeah, trivia. Green Chef fits perfectly with me because I'm the greenest chef there is. In fact, Danielle, my loving life partner, is signing up our little kids for cooking classes and asked if I wanted to take them too so I could learn some basics. But why take classes when you've got Green Chef? Because I made the Cajun blackened chicken and it was magnifique. Just followed the instructions and bang, like a Mike Breen shot. It was great. Green Chef is the #1 meal kit for eating well. With dinners that work for you, not the other way around. Green Chef's options for every lifestyle are included in there. Keto and paleo, vegan, vegetarian, fast and fit, Mediterranean like me, and gluten-free. Whether you're looking for carb-conscious, gluten-free, plant-based, or calorie-conscious options, or you just want to have delicious, balanced dishes, Green Chef has flavorful, feel-good recipes that are sure to satisfy. If I don't have to make a meal, I just won't make it. I'll scrap to survive. Unfortunately, that's how I live. But
That's me too.
We call it scavenging in our house. But yes.
but now I've made a meal from HelloFresh and Green Chef because the instructions are right there. It's so simple, and I enjoyed both experiences. So it makes sense that Green Chef is owned by HelloFresh. And that means there is a wider array of meal plans to choose from. There really is something for everyone. Go to greenchef.com/NoDunks130 and use code NoDunks130 to get $130 off plus free shipping. That's greenchef.com/NoDunks130 and use code NoDunks130 to get $130 off plus free shipping. Green Chef, the #1 meal kit for eating well.
Back with no breaks, going to take a quick look at the standings heading into the Miami Grand Prix. Here's the drivers' standing. Up top still, Charles Leclerc, 86 points. He's followed now by Max Verstappen in P2. And then it goes Perez, Russell, Sainz, Norris, Hamilton, Bottas, Ocon, and Kevin Magnussen down there in 10th with 15 points. As for the constructors' standings, Red Bull has now moved into second place behind Ferrari. We got Mercedes in P3, followed by McLaren, Alfa Romeo, Alpine, AlphaTauri, Haas, Aston Martin, and Williams bringing in the rear there at number 10. But like you said, Graydon, everybody's got points so far this season, so a little bit more parity, no doubt. Got another break in the action, though, before Miami. Why so many stops and starts at the beginning of the Formula One season? I feel like it's like the NBA season up until Christmas, you know. We're not trying to jam all the games in here.
Yeah, I feel like we haven't hit our stride with like the hyper regional stuff. Like we go back to Europe at some point in the season, and then we just hang around Europe for a long time. And I feel like that's when they like hammer in a bunch of back-to-backs. But now we're in Australia, we're in like Italy. We're in the U.S. It's big travel.
That's right. Things kick off in Florida on May 6th. That's next Friday, a week from Friday, with practice followed by qualifying on the 7th and the big race on the 8th. I think it's an afternoon race, which will be a little bit different for us, like getting the late game on a football schedule.
Yeah, it's a little, it's nice and it isn't, because we're living dad life nowadays.
That's right.
All three of us are here. Sometimes it's nice to just like wake up and like bang it out. So then you got a full day of other stuff. It's like, okay, I've done my sportsing for today.
Midday sportsing is a lot tougher,
versus
no doubt.
Versus the last 2 weekends. I like everybody else here. I've been watching the NBA playoffs, and it does it obliterates your whole day.
Oh yeah, I love it. Love an 8 a.m. start. The girls are watching Octonauts downstairs, so totally. I can just partake in.
The kids, I get up, I feed them, I put them back down. The race starts, I watch it, and then they're waking up from their nap, and then it's like nothing ever happened.
I know they're only a few months old, but who do they seem to be fans of so far?
I mean, we're a bit. As we call them in my house, Charles Leclerc, baby Monaco. They're baby Monaco. They're babies. They're babies in support of baby Monaco. They're babies
for baby Monaco.
Babies for baby Monaco. They're big. We're raising them Ferrari. We're raising them Ferrari fans from day one. They do. I'm sure they have no idea what's going on. They're babies, but they do stare at the TV. They do stare at the.
Oh, they like screens. That's crazy.
Yeah,
about
it's
your baby.
amazing.
I've never heard of that
Have you
before.
heard about this?
Yeah. So we got a new track going to Miami for the first time ever. It's impossible to predict, but what are you expecting down in Miami?
I don't know. This is a tough one. It seems like this course. It doesn't feel like it's very extreme in any direction. Like from the research I was doing, obviously there's a bit of like the caveat is like, I don't know, we don't know, who knows, you know, like, but they're barely even done building it, right? So it's there, but I suspect we'll see, you know, a Ferrari and Red Bull fighting again at the front. You know, it does feel like one thing that happened in Imola is we had just one practice session before qualifying that really affected the setup. Here we'll see, I think, a lot more tinkering, a lot more changing of setups over the course of the weekend. It makes it a little bit harder to predict, but I don't know. We'll see. I do expect, if there's no issues, we're likely in any given race, you're looking at Leclerc and Verstappen as the overwhelming favorites to finish 1-2 in either order. I think they're just clearly the class of the grid right now, and I think there's no reason to suggest that somebody else is going to compete with them for those spots.
Well, that's interesting because one of my questions was going to be, should we start seeing like major upgrades coming soon? This is only the second race in 4 weeks, so theoretically a little bit more time to work on the cars and develop stuff, and obviously you're getting a whole bunch more track time now that we're 5 races into the season or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, I know that Mercedes, like we were saying earlier, they have ideas for at least what they want to do, but when are we going to start seeing, you know, kind of the second version of the cars that started the year?
Well, this weekend you're probably right. At least some of them, Mercedes included, have communicated that they want to bring some serious upgrades this weekend. So you're absolutely right, and we just don't know how those are going to affect things, especially for Merck, who has acknowledged that the data they're getting from the wind tunnel is proving really inapplicable to on-track conditions. So they are having a really hard time with these leaps forward. So, but I mean, we've maybe already seen upgrades out of the McLaren make huge strides. I don't know. That's a tough. I think the only thing we could say is that's absolutely right. But do I expect at this point in the season any upgrade to mean that you're now meaningfully competing with Red Bull and Ferrari? I would be shocked at
Probably
that.
not.
I would be shocked at that.
All right, well, it does seem that the Miami GP is trying to compete specifically with Monaco, because one thing that caught my eye on the internet with regards to the Miami Grand Prix is that they're building a fake marina for the course. They've just got boats sitting here waiting for water to be put in on the inside of the track here. I mean, obviously, it's going to be an event, right? Like the Miami GP is going to be a crazy sort of party atmosphere. Skeets was mentioning on the show today that like if the Heat finish off the Hawks, they will likely have home playoff games sometime next week. Apparently, the Florida Panthers are good at hockey, and they might be doing some stuff as well.
That could easily be true.
I don't know if you have a lot of crossover between NHL and Formula One fans. Who knows? But that was funny to me to see them building a fake marina when you're in Florida.
In Finland, it's
easy to find water
there. In Finland, they probably have overlap there. A lot of Finnish F1 fans, a lot of Finnish hockey fans. That's probably the hotbed of hockey F1 crossover. The fake marina thing is a little silly to me. I probably wouldn't have done that if I was designing it in my
wouldn't be my first thought.
If you had gone back and said, Graydon, design an F1 track in Miami, I wouldn't have said we're putting in a fake marina. We're putting in a fake marina.
Aren't you on a beach?
I feel like the times I've been to Miami, when I've had a blast, always do.
Oh yeah.
You drive around, it does feel like there's boats and marinas everywhere. Like putting the track somewhere where you just drove past part of a marina felt doable, but agree. But I don't know. So
I guess we shall see how it all plays out. And I'm interested to see, I remember before the United States Grand Prix in Austin last year, like they had so many activations. We had so much social media content. They were bringing in everybody. I imagine it will be even more so.
I think so. I think this will be very star-studded. Miami brings them out, celebs and things like that, way more than Austin does, right? And I think it'll be I mean, this event was sold out. The race was sold out instantly for all intents and purposes, as best as I can tell. It's the toughest ticket in town, right? And I think it will be very cool in that sense. It'll be very exciting, but it's I mean, listen, it's just great. I mean, it's great to have a race. I hope that I always thought. I'm just really interested to see how it works out. I thought having it around the football stadium was kind of a peculiar spot for it, but apparently, I mean, everybody's talking about what a lovely job they've done kind of, figuring out how to make it all work and making a good experience. So I guess we'll see how fans' experience are, and, hopefully it's a great race.
Yeah, I guess it's easier to build a fake marina than a fake stadium. So you build it by the real stadium.
Yeah, that's yeah. I guess you can't. Is anybody going to be? I wish they had gone through the stadium or something. They're going around the stadium.
Yeah.
There's no way to go into the stadium. No, I don't.
We'll see. I'm excited. My one prediction is that somehow Pitbull is going to be involved. I don't know how. Maybe he'll be some sort of a flag waver, but he's Mr. 305 and Mr. Worldwide, which is perfect for Formula One in Miami.
So you know what I'm actually okay. The thing I wish they had done, and this probably almost certainly would violate some sort of F1 safety standard. So throw that out for a second and imagine that we don't care about the health and well-being of the drivers. I was watching, I didn't see the whole race, but I guess IndyCar was in Nashville this past weekend, and they started on the bridge coming over the river there. That was the starting line, and they're kind of racing across the bridge and into town or something, and it was very beautiful. And I had thought they should have built part of the track so that you were out over the water.
That'd be cool.
If you were racing across the bay. Now, that is a catastrophic idea if somebody crashes on that part of the track, and it's incredibly dangerous, almost certainly not allowed. But I mean,
but can you imagine?
But it would be so cool looking. It would be so cool. Yeah. I mean, what are we concerned about here? Being safe or being cool?
It's hard to tell sometimes. But mark Pitbull down, and maybe I was just thinking
Pitbull.
Bring Kesha. As well.
I think honestly, when there's one, the other's not far behind.
That's true. You got anything else, Graydon, about Imola, Miami? Maybe going to a team principals dinner?
No, but party in the city where the heat is on. I'm excited.
I'll be bumping it all 2 weeks because we're going to take a little break here until the Miami GP comes back. But that's it for us today. You can follow Graydon on Twitter at Mr. Gordian. Graydon, you're a basketball fan, first and foremost. Which NBA team has impressed you the most through the first round?
Wow. I mean, I think the Celtics. I mean, sweeping the net. No, people thought that maybe it was going to be a long series. They looked terrific, right? Yeah. They look like they can actually win the title, which I don't know if I believed coming into the postseason.
They do. They do look like they could. You got to be pulling for Derek White a little bit.
I'm a huge, and I love that he's getting some minutes. I appreciate seeing him out there. Plus also Ime Udoka is also a Spurs guy, so keep it in the fam. Love that. Meanwhile, Suns looking a little vulnerable.
Are you an anti-Suns guy?
No, not.
Duncan versus
I feel
Matt
like that. Yeah, that rivalry is real, but I feel like that's this Suns team. What is Yeah, it's not this. Yeah, I like Devin Booker. It's if I could play like anyone, I'd play like Devin Booker.
I see some similarities in your game.
Wow, that's
not
true. That's not true.
It's all basketball.
That's obviously a lie. Yeah. I shoot.
Yeah,
I pass.
You shoot, you dribble, you pass.
Yeah, totally.
You move like you've got a pulled hamstring as well. But if you want some more basketball talk, follow No Dunks on social media at No Dunks Inc. anywhere and everywhere on the internet. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, wherever. Send me and Graydon some F1 emails at nodunks@theathletic.com, and you can subscribe to The Athletic at theathletic.com/nodunks to get the best sports writing on planet Earth and all of our podcasts ad-free as well. No Dunks is back tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern on the No Dunks YouTube channel to break down some pivotal Game 5s and to see if we're going to get another playoff game down here at the Fortress. Would you go to Game 6?
Ooh, I'm down. Yeah. I mean, the Fortress, to be there in just a place
to defend the Fortress.
To defend the Fortress, it shakes, right? But does it fall? No.
We shall see. We'll be tuned in tonight. We'll be tuned into the Miami GP, and we'll be talking about all of that kind of stuff because we can't stop talking. Clipper Bros!
You heard it here first. Have a great time. Turn up. Love you guys. Awesome.
Stay speedy, people. Vroom, vroom.